for that, and you understood that the ambition of LIPRI is to create a long-term platform between Europe and Africa, mainly to exchange and to create a kind of community of practice in the field of sustainable energy. So we are very happy that you are here all today, and I see that the number of attendees is growing. So I have some update regarding the co-funding activities. You know that in the past we have been funding several projects through calls, different calls. You know that within LIPARI we have this capacity to engage with national authorities and funders that put their resources into a common pot. And when they reach a certain threshold, the European Commission is putting additional funding. So we successfully launched 2 calls for project in 21 and 22. And I guess the process is quite attractive because the European Commission is going to invest again on this mechanism. So I have the pleasure to announce that we will be in capacity to launch 2 additional calls for project, most likely in 2025 and 2026. So please keep that in your books, because I guess your organization could be eligible to apply to this upcoming calls for project in the future. I'm still displaying the slide on the priorities because we will continue working on this set of priorities that will be also enlarged to hydrogen, grid hydrogen, but also storage and potentially electric mobility. So let's keep in touch regarding these upcoming opportunities for you. I would like also to highlight the fact that from the 8th to the 11th of October, we will organize our 4th Stakeholder Forum, our international event in Milan, in Italy. So you are all welcome. There are some facilities for the LIPRI consortium members because you may have some budget left over. If no budget left over, the coordination team is currently having a look to potential financial support to increase the physical participation of African beneficiaries. We will also organize for the 3rd time a renewable energy school that will be taught by Politecnico di Milano colleagues. So I think for those who participated in the past in our stakeholder fora in Nairobi, in Pretoria, or in Kigali, it will be following the same architecture, the same agenda. It will be a 4-day event. So we will next week share the last version of agenda, the registration form, all the logistics and guidance documents so that you can easily prepare your trip if you want to join on site. I would like to insist on 2 last items. The first one is that we also are opening a set of activities related to scalability and market uptake. So we would like to demonstrate to the European Commission in particular that we have in our portfolio of projects a bunch of results that could be scaled up and put potentially on the market or connected to potential investors. And I am personally convinced that within the project on clean cooking that you are implementing PURAMS, namely, and the solar cooker prototype, there is a great potential for scale up and market uptake. So we have been in contact in the recent weeks with a venture capitalist, an investment fund whose name is Spark Plus, headquartered in Great Britain, UK. And they are only funding project in Africa on clean cooking technologies. So I guess this could be also potentially a good connection for your project and the potential follow-up of the activities you are implementing. And I will conclude now simply by promoting an event that will take place on the 26th of June. Yeah, 26th of June, thank you. that is organized by the African Europe Energy Partnership. So I will paste the link of the organization in the chat. The event so far is not promoted, but actually the AEP, I don't know if you are familiar with the AEP, it's headquartered in Addis Ababa. So I think there are strong links with the African Union. And they are organizing energy talk on clean cooking. So I'm sharing very briefly the agenda, and they are aware that today we are organizing this webinar within Lipari, and actually they are quite open to potential partnership or dialogue or discussions between our respective initiatives. So my request to you is that if you want to suggest something, if you want to push for any representative that could potentially be a speaker, I guess it is still time in the next days to suggest someone within Lipari that could potentially intervene in this workshop. If we miss this opportunity, we are in touch with the AEP, the Africa Europe Energy Partnership. So I guess there will be further opportunities in the future. I stop here. I will share with you this information with Teresa and Sandra. And well, good discussions today. And thank you for such a great involvement and high participation. Back to you, Teresa.
Thank you so much, Leonard. So I think we are able to start now with our panelists and with the presentations. So I'll give the word to Sandra.
Yeah, thank you, Teresa, and thank you so much, Leonard, for the remarks that you've made. Looking forward to the PAC Plus funding. I was speaking to some colleagues in Kenya who are quite interested in funders who are willing to uptake clean cooking activities, because there's always that mismatch between the technology and what is being funded out there. So that's quite interesting. Thank you for sharing that, Leonard, and looking forward to the AEP event on the 26th. Hopefully we'll be able to join and contribute to that conversation as well. So I'll go into the next presentation where I'll just give an overview on what Forums is, the objectives around it. I'd want to believe that you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Sorry, yes. So my name is Sandra Banda and I'm from Strathmore University. This is just a brief profile about myself, but basically I am an engineer with experience from C&I in the Kenyan market to now research and innovation stemming from clean cooking.
Sandra, sorry.
Yes.
I think your slides are not in present mode, in presentation mode.
Yes. Thank you. Are they now?
Okay.
Yes.
Is it good?
Good.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. So as I was mentioning, just a brief introduction about the work that we've been doing at Strathmore in terms of research in clean cooking, as well as electricity and energy access, and also looking at operational efficiency. So the PURAMS project is, the acronym is PURAMS, but basically it stands for Productive Use in Rural African Markets Using Standalone Solar. So basically the project is looking at how can a renewable energy resource, in this particular case solar, be used to help advance the clean cooking or cooking scope. Strathmore University is the work package leader, and we're based in Kenya, and the project has 6 partners. So we have Strathmore University in Kenya, we have the Rural Electrification and Renewable Energy Corporation, which is mandated to look after, to handle any matters in terms of off-grid electricity access in Kenya. And we have Engineer Kamweru and his team in the call, and they'll be doing a presentation later. And we have Africa Energy Services Group from Rwanda, which is an energy consulting group. And then we have the Mondlane University from Mozambique, ELNEG from Portugal, and University of Cordoba from Spain. And so we're 6 partners, and basically we have all come together with our different expertise to try address the issue that comes to advancing clean cooking on the continent. So the main objective of the Programs project is to build a standalone cooking appliance that is powered by solar, and it's meant to address some of the traditional cooking challenges related to health, because we have in Africa we have the highest cases related to use of biomass fuel for cooking. And I think the statistic as of now stands at, is it 1:10 or one in every 10 or 1 in every 4 has had a health-related issue related to use of biomass for cooking. So in this project, apart from building the prototype, we're also to do a market assessment to determine what's the viability of this cooker in the market, and to identify business models, and also talk to policymakers on how to build an enabling environment for this, and also to develop the right PV technology that is meant to work with this cooker. So we have various tasks under this, as I've mentioned before, to build the prototype, to do resource assessment, to do a market capacity and policy environment assessment, to build a PV technology suitable for this, was the project management. So the first task was mostly on data collection, and the project is implemented in the 3 African countries that I mentioned, so in Mozambique, Rwanda, and Kenya. So we did do data collection in all the 3 countries, because when we started this project in 2021, we did not have data out there that spoke into understanding cooking profiles, especially on the continent. So we had to do data collection from grassroots and building this up to be able to come up with the right metrics, not just only to build the prototype, but also to develop the business models. So we also did a resource assessment in all the 3 countries to understand what's the resource capacity to be able to support this technology. So far, we have also built the prototype. It's an optimization of an existing model, and I'll allow my colleague from Strathmore, Vincent, he will be presenting on that later and the results that we have received so far. But basically, this was the main objective of the project. How can we build a solar-powered cooking appliance that can be tested in the lab, and then also we do a field test on it just to assess its viability and its performance as well. We also engaged with some policymakers across all the 3 countries to understand where exactly in the scope of the electric cooking or clean cooking scope does our project fit in. So we're looking at the capacity needs. What's the ecosystem like? Are there any capacity needs that are needed in the market? And colleagues from Rwanda and REREC, our colleagues from ASG and REREC will be presenting on this. And so far, the results that we've had from our data collection and literature review. And our colleagues from Spain, UCO, looking at the PV technologies that are suitable to power this particular appliance, and Gustavo will be presenting on that later. So far, my screen is not moving. Yes, so far the impact that we've had, of course, is one, to be able to develop a solar-powered cooker, or rather to optimize a solar-powered cooker. We intend to also do the emission potential of this cooker. Once we finish our field test, we'll be able to do that particular calculation and just quantify just how much emissions are we able to reduce just by also getting this to scale, as Leonard has mentioned, and of course reducing the use of biomass fuel for cooking. And of course, we want to see enhanced economic activities. As I mentioned before, we did do data collection, and I'll be speaking on that a bit later. And there was feedback already from the households that we collected data from, because we did give them an AC appliance to use so that we could study their cooking habits. And part of the feedback that we got during that data collection process was about how they appreciated the fact that those are appliances that could allow them to cook efficiently, where they could be able to do other activities in the household. So in terms of impact of this project so far on careers and the researchers who have been involved in this, we've had 2 data collection trainings in the Lipari Stakeholder Forum that was held in Pretoria in 2022 and in Kigali in 2023. We also did a training on renewable resource assessment, again in the Kigali Stakeholder Forum in October. We have a PhD candidate in Cordoba undertaking a research under this work package, and we have supported, the project has also supported some masters and PhD students to be involved in the Strathmore team. We were able to onboard about 6 female engineers on the LIPARI project, each with different backgrounds in electrical, mechatronic, and mechanical. And there was also energy modeling knowledge transfer between the consortium of partners. In terms of dissemination activities, we've had our colleagues present a scientific paper we've presented a paper in the Solar Journal in 2023, and the DOI link is there. Happy to share it in the link. We also presented the project at the CCIES conference in 2022 and the Consol Food conference, where I believe Celestino represents here. We also did a paper presentation at the IEEE conference in Morocco. Project also allowed us to study the quality ecosystem of electric cooking appliances in Kenya, and that report is out. It was supported by MEX. And we also contributed to the electric cooking strategy that has been developed, the electric cooking strategy for Kenya that has been developed by MEX. So far, in terms of contribution to the state of art, we're able to develop data collection methodologies that could be applicable specifically for this kind of research, where you're looking at surveys that could be able to understand the socioeconomic context and not including the techno-economics of cooking. And we did the experimental data campaign enabled us to understand the energy needs and the cooking patterns that are needed when it comes to research related to clean cooking. And of course, the prototype development, which we collaborated with partners from MEX to optimize an already existing EPC. As I mentioned, Vincent will be able to speak about this a bit later. So we have developed two heating prototype mechanisms to be able just to improve the efficiency of existing EPCs in the market. And with that, I don't know if I'm still on time, but yeah, and this is me. So thank you very much. As Teresa mentioned, I think in case of any questions, as we keep going, as the presenters keep sharing about the impacts, the results, the challenges they faced during this project implementation phase, I'm sure we'll have a couple of questions coming up, and I'm happy to address some that will be related to this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sandra. That was helpful. Thank you so much. Our next presentation is on the data collection that we've done for programs in Kenya, Rwanda, and Mozambique. And the presentation will be done by Sandra from Kenya, Dominique Savio, and Ines Raimondo. Yeah, so kindly, if can start with Sandra, you can share your slide. Yes, so Sandra is a project manager at UNESCO Chair. Ines Raimundo is a professor and a senior researcher at Eduardo Mondale University. And Dominique is a program and business development manager at Africa Energy Services Group. So you're welcome to present. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm back. Okay, so Strathmore led the data collection activities in Kenya. And so, of course, allow my colleagues to speak on Rwanda and Mozambique. So in Kenya, we collected data from newly electrified households. The government did have a program to electrify households in the country. And so we wanted to see what newly electrified households could do for demand stimulation for electricity. And this is also, of course, an ongoing campaign in the country. So we did study households in Kisumu and Kericho counties in Kenya, which is mostly, I would say, on the western side of the country. And so we did our survey in different stages. In Kenya, we started with 500 households just to do a pre-screening survey of both counties. And then we had a selection criteria based on the level of study, the kind of firewood that is used, willingness to participate in this study, because we took a period of at least 9 months to do this whole data collection process. And so next we went to the launch survey, where now we shortlisted from the 500 households and were able to assess the cooking habits, we gave from the pre-screening survey. It was just a basic survey tool where we interviewed the households just to understand the basics, to understand their income levels, to understand how they cook, and their willingness also to be able to assess if they will be able to be a part of the study to assess their electric cooking habits. And then after the launch survey, we did a baseline study. And the baseline study was basically, now we're looking more at the fuels that were being used and how they were cooking throughout the day. And so we went on shortlisting the households from 500 to 200, and by the baseline study, we shortlisted them to 100 households, basically looking again at how they cook, what fuel they use, the consistency in cooking, because we needed the participants for a period of time. And so after the baseline study, so there are 100 households, we gave them each an electric pressure cooker, an AC-powered electric pressure cooker. And for the 6-month study, what we wanted to do was just determine the energy use. So the meals that they were cooking in the baseline, because in the baseline is where they did a bit more, we asked them to do a bit of more cooking, just what they cook in their usual day-to-day. We did not give them a menu, just like we just want to see what you cook every day, the fuel that you use. So we did provide them with scales to measure their fuel, and we also
Sandra, I guess
You
you're
are
muted.
muted.
this whole time.
This is good now.
A few
Sorry.
seconds. Just a few
Oh,
seconds.
okay. Yeah. So we, as I was mentioning, so we did the 6-month study with the EPC, and then after that, we also did a 2-week end-line and exit survey just to understand the impact of the use of the EPC before and after, and just get their responses and see what, and also their willingness to continue to use such a technology in their homes. So that was mainly the methodology that was used in Kenya. And so from the 100 households, we're able now to collect data using energy meters. And this is the energy meters, and now we're able to analyze and determine what kind of cooker would work if we were to build and optimize an electric pressure cooker. We decided to settle on the electric pressure cooker because when we were doing the study, we realized that most of the foods that were being cooked in this household required a lot of boiling, which is very common in most African households. And so we wanted to bring a cooker that would be relatable, especially in the rural markets. So an appliance that could boil and as well fry food at the same time. So it's versatility. Okay, so basically from the analysis from the whole cooking study, we're able to just determine what was the most. So what you see, the pie chart that you see this was during the baseline study. What is mostly used in households? Of course, firewood had the greatest percentage. Most used fuel. This was not during the baseline study, but after the baseline study, after we gave them the EPC. So you could see they were still using firewood, but then there was also an uptake in the electricity, but there was a reduction in the charcoal, of course, because of the time taken. Equally, firewood is just as hectic in terms of the time it needs to be set up for cooking. But at least we saw that during the study that there was an uptick in electricity use when we gave them the EPCs to use. So we were able, as I mentioned before, to see how they cook, how much time is taken during supper, during lunch, during breakfast. And this was after we gave them the EPCs, how much time are they taking to cook, and to see whether they'd actually use these EPCs across all the 3 meals, because it is common in most African households, I may say, to have the 3 proper meals in a day, with less activity during breakfast, but a lot of activity during supper time. And then we also assessed how each household, what setup looked like, to also determine the capacity, the relevant capacity of a cooker that would work for particular households, because the cooker is a 5-liter EPC, so that's able at least to cook meals that could be able to fit households' needs in terms of meals. In terms of impact, as I mentioned before, when we started the data collection, there wasn't much relevant data in terms of what the cooking scenario looked like in data related to cooking. And so this project allowed us at least to have that database where now we can use it as reference if we ever need to assess the cooking scenario in all the 3 countries, Kenya included. The households also were able to get EPCs that they were able to use for this. And one of the things that we identified during the exit study was cost as a barrier to uptake and also the need for a tariff mechanism. But again, remember in Kenya, we did assess households that were recently connected to the grid. So hence the need for a tariff mechanism. But then also the KUKA allows also off-grid households to take advantage of having an opportunity to practice clean cooking. Also being able, like I mentioned before, to determine cooking patterns across and also use this information to inform different policy initiatives. And so this diagram is just part showing where the data that collected or the work that we did was able to build momentum for in the sector related in the cooking sector in Kenya. Some of the challenges, of course, we did this data collection period during the COVID-19 season, so it was quite hard, especially because of the curfew at that time. So collecting data was a bit of a challenge because of the curfew, and it was extended for 3 months. But so hence why we had to take like a 9-month period for data collection. And then there was some damaged energy meters, which we discovered that the best place if you were to work with a KUKA and an energy meter is at least to place it either on the wall or somewhere a bit far, because we realized when we gave it to the household, they were just placing it directly next to the KUKA, and there was a lot of water damage. But apart from that, I think we're able to get to the point of where we are right now, where we can disseminate some of the results. So thank you very much. And I will allow my colleague from Rwanda to give us insight on how the data collection in Rwanda went.
Okay, Dominic, maybe you can share your screen. Maybe a question to note, Sandra, so that you can answer it later, as Dominic is trying to share. Stewart Crane is asking, was only one EPC given per participant or more than one cooking appliance?
Okay. Thanks, Sheila. I think I'll answer that at the Q&A session.
Yes.
Okay.
Share, can you share it from your end? I'm unable to share.
I think, Dominique, I'll just share the one I was presenting because it has part of your presentation. So just give me a minute. Let me put it up. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I believe you can see the screen. Let me put it in presentation mode. Just let me know when to go to next.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Sandra and Korig. I'm Dominique Savio over here, and I'm from Rwanda, representing Africa Energy Services Group. I work at Africa Energy Services Group as a program coordination manager. Next slide. Yeah, I'm here to give you an overview of the experience we had when we were collecting data related to clean cooking in Rwanda. As opposed to Kenyan side, in Rwanda, we did data collection in off-grid zone, where we identified our partners, the mini-grid developer, which is Arc Power Limited, and the clean cooking pressure cookers distributor, which is ElectroCook. So regarding to methodology, we just started with 100 households, and we downsized to 50 households, which we distributed 50 pressure cookers. And we understood that the cooking with electricity in off-grid zone is somehow challenging because of the pricing tariff. We had to negotiate with the mini-grid developer to put a specified tariff for the selected households on which they developed a time window from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. The tariff was reduced 3 times, and from 6 to 8 p.m. also the tariff was reduced almost 3 times. So to allow them to cook at least on 3 hours on reduced tariff. Next slide. Project impact. We have come to understand how the cooking method of Rwandan cuisine is done using modern ways of cooking. The experience was that households was happy cooking with pressure cookers, and because it was on agreed tariff after the data correction, the tariff was put again on the normal tariff. So as we told them that we are building solution for off-grid areas, they are waiting for the product we are developing, and I think it will be much of use when we will be launching the product. And we have come to understand the load profile, which led to the design of the solar cooker currently under testing, and awareness level has been increased related to clean cooking. Now the households, the people living in rural areas knows why they have to shift from cooking using biomass. Next slide. Challenges, as we have collected the data during COVID, we had to take a long road to search for permits for data collection, and it was a lengthy process because every service during COVID was slow, and importing energy meters was not a smooth process, given that we imported energy meters from Kenya and we were not aware of taxes implication. So it was a hard time to us, and COVID measures led to using additional budget which were not used budgeted before the project. Next slide. Thank you. That came to an end of this presentation. It will be Mozambique if they're ready. From my side, I'm okay.
Okay, the next presentation is from Ines from Mozambique. So if you can kindly share your presentation.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm trying to figure out where I think it's here. Can I? Oh gosh. No, anyone can help me from your side? Yeah. Okay, it's here. Yeah, it's open, but I can't. Okay, so please, if anyone can help me from your side, I'm trying to share, but seems that well, it's not here.
Let me check. Is Sheila, do you have Ines's presentation in the drive?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm trying to open. Yeah, I'm trying to open it. Okay. Just a second.
I found it. So
please, is the one that I sent you recently?
Okay. No, it's not this one.
So while we are trying to set up the presentation, let me inform you that I'm not going to present the whole survey in terms of what we have been doing the last 3 years. Yes, because there is missing data collection that we were not able to do last year, even though we did other ones, the previous one is relating to cooking and what the fuel people are using. But generally speaking, there is not much differentiation between these three countries. I mean, Rwanda, Kenya, and Mozambique, in terms of how costly it is to use the not renewable source of energy. I mean, the cost in terms of environment and also in terms of price, considering that Mozambique, in fact, last year has been impacted through climate events and also by COVID, as or other countries. So my name is Inez Raymond. I am in charge of this socioeconomic service, and as Professor Kwamba is part of Edward Modern University. I'm also part of that, but I'm working for from the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences. My background is geography, so I'm geographer. So please, could you please move? Yes. So, okay. So in terms of methodology, before starting from challenge and solutions, in terms of methodology, it took quite a while to get people accepting to be part of these studies. But what we did, we just selected one neighborhood. So that neighborhood we've been working with for a long time in terms of energy. Since this project started, this is our target group. Yes, we have connections with stakeholders, so they make them available to receive the team and in a way that we could conduct our service. But again, this is for it's such a kind of overlap of situations, as I was trying to say at the beginning, because we had COVID, we had floods, and also we had the election. So many issues that, to some extent, they might have impacted on our data collection. But I'm happy to share with you that we were able to do what was possible according to the conditions that we had. So in terms of challenges and solutions, first of all, and I wonder about the experience of your countries, but in Mozambique, there is a lot of bureaucracy to get permission to do any kind of study, besides the energy center, previous contact with energy companies and also with these Namehudu. We have to go over and over with credentials or permission to do service in neighborhoods here in Mozambique, and particularly in Maputo. But well, we can say that in terms of that is a really interesting situation, because we have these energy companies that have worked with universities, with the Edward Mondlane University, but at the first one to create a lot of impediments to do our research. I've changed the email with you about the FUNAI National Energy Fund, that only last week they're acknowledging our proposal of the study, despite we having submitted our permission in January of this year. So after 3 or 4 months, so now they said, okay, they acknowledge it, but they still not have given us permission in terms of when can we interview them. This is really crucial for our study, because it's the entity that deals with regulations and policies in terms of renewable energy in Mozambique. And we also have to mention that also we get some hindrances in terms of interviewing financing banks or NGOs that fund renewable energy. This is what's quite impossible. However, we can say that we had some contact with solar coca producers last week, and this is good because now our two doctoral students, they can now go to the field, they collect their information for the data for their thesis, which means that this project also is important for training. It's important for our specifically for our PhD students. So we conducted some interviews in the neighborhoods, as I said, where people reflect to improve stoves like Magwanini A, and also this neighborhood that has been the target of our studies, unfortunately, is another example of neighborhoods that are in the midst of all kinds of problems that the city is facing. As a matter of fact, since February of this year until May, even yesterday we had hailstorms here, so we can imagine the situation that these people are facing, which means that actually three blocks in the same neighborhoods actually are impossible because they are underwater. And this is one of the concerns. This is the importance. Through this example, we can see how important it is to use renewable energy, because we know that when you use this fuel energy or fossil energy, that's cause that's impact on the climate. So we can have a real example, an example that, okay, it's important to move from this usual or previous source of energy to the renewal, because if you continue to use that, your neighborhood will disappear. And another good news is not a challenge. It's still both challenge and good news. Good news is because we know one person who is working continuously with communities, helping the community, informing the community the importance of using renewable energy. But it is a challenge because up to now we're not able to introduce that later. So again, in terms of data, finally I got clarification from Vincent. Thank you, Vincent. It seems that we are using different softwares because I'm using SPSS, and unfortunately, what was difficult for me to categorize all variables that we use it for the purpose of the survey. But it seems that Vincent has another software, so in due course we will interact with him so to find out how can I capture the information that we have collected so far. Please, you can move. Okay.
Let's keep the time. So I already have moved past time, so if we can try hurry the presentation.
Okay, so move, please. Yeah, they're missing data. So before this one, so this is the people who we interviewed and the different companies. So this is the situation. So please, you can move on. Okay, continuation. Yeah. So this is some of the data, some of the information that we got from the databases. Please, you can move on. Yeah. So this is that graphic was shared by Vincent is something new, so that shows who we interviewed regarding to academia, retailer, manufacturers, suppliers, and commercial banks until NGOs. So this is our last slide that I wanted to share with you. Thank you very much for listening to me. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Teresa, for that. That was a good presentation. The next presentation we have is from João Cardoso. It's on solar resource assessment for the cooking appliances. João is a technical officer from ELNED, so if you can have us present and share your presentation, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the kind introduction. Good morning, everybody. Just to confirm, you can see my presentation, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So thank you for the kind presentation. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about solar resource assessment, based with the work also that we performed at this project. But my main goal will be to try to give some highlights of the main characteristics of this type of resource assessment. So the goals of this presentation is to understand what is a solar resource assessment, its relevance in the context of the development of solar energy projects, and to identify solar irradiance data sources that can be used for projects in Africa. Okay, so let's start with some basics. So when we perform a solar radiation assessment, we are usually trying to characterize one or more of the different solar radiation components. So the main solar radiation components that we can characterize are this global horizontal irradiance. This means the power density of the solar radiation that is received on an horizontal surface, and this includes both direct radiation coming directly from the solar disk and the circumsolar region, and diffuse components, so diffuse radiation that is diffused by scattering in the atmosphere, by reflections in clouds, and so on. Another component that we can characterize is the direct normal irradiance. That means the power density of solar radiation that is incident on a surface that is perpendicular to the sun rays emanating from the solar disk and the circumsolar region. So here we are characterizing only the direct radiation. And also the global tilted irradiance. So this is the power density of the solar radiation that is incident on a tilted surface. And again, because it's global, it includes both direct and diffuse components. We can also characterize the diffuse horizontal irradiance, but usually this is not such an interesting information per se, but together with one or the other components, it can be very relevant as well. So why do we need to perform solar resource assessment? For any generation source, the knowledge of the quality and future reliability of the fuel is essential for accurate analysis of system performance and to determine the viability of a project, so the technical and the financial viability of a project. For solar energy systems, the variability of the supply of sunlight probably represents the single greatest uncertainty in a solar power plant's predicted performance or in a solar cooker's predicted performance. So we perform solar resource assessments to accurately determine the availability of solar irradiance or irradiation. And we do this to develop, deploying, and operating solar energy systems, and also to make energy policy decisions when we are performing potential studies. So you can see that the characteristics of the solar resource assessment in terms of the uncertainty, the time span of this assessment, the temporal and spatial resolution of the assessment, and the accuracy, it can vary. It can, so the requirements can vary depending on the stage of development of our project. So for example, pre-feasibility studies will require less accurate, so with higher uncertainty, data. However, if we are doing, for example, due diligence and acceptance of plans, then we will require higher accuracy data, so with lower uncertainty, and also high information with higher resolution, temporal resolution, and spatial resolution as well. So the takeaway from here is that you should, let's say, fine-tune the requirements of your solar resource assessment depending on the stage of the project development that you are and on the goal, what you want to do with the information. What is a solar resource assessment? Is the characterization of the solar irradiance that is available for energy conversion at a specific location or region over a given period of interest. Solar resource assessments need to ensure that they are reliable, so the quality of the used approach is very important. Must ensure also relatively low uncertainties. Again, depending on this can be fine-tuned depending the requirements, depending on the stage of the project development. And the solar resource assessment should account for intra and inter-annual patterns and trends. So we should try to aim for a good temporal resolution using long-term data. Again, depending also, we can fine-tune these requirements depending on the stage of the project development that we are. By how do we perform solar resource assessments? By identifying reliable data for solar irradiance and by processing it to be used in the desired analysis, being the pre-feasibility, being the feasibility study, or the plant operation. So for each application, the data source must be selected considering the temporal resolution, spatial resolution, spatial coverage, data uncertainty, and the parameters of interest. So the global horizontal irradiance, direct normal irradiance, and so on. There are 3 types of sources of data: ground measured data, satellite-derived data, and data coming from numerical weather prediction models. And now I'm going to speak a little bit about each one of them. So for ground-measured data, they can be collected for specific locations using ground stations equipped with pyrheliometers and pyranometers. The main advantages are the high degree of accuracy and high temporal resolution. However, so it's the best data in terms of, let's say, accuracy and data quality if it comes from a good operated and maintained station. However, it also has some disadvantages. The spatial resolution is very limited because the data will be only representative for the station location. It has high maintenance and operation requirements and is an expensive way of getting the data. Special care should be taken when using measured data, since not all databases perform data quality assessments of their records, and ground measured data is also required for the validation of reanalysis or satellite-derived data sets. So this is the basic data that we can get, and we need to use it also to validate other data sets, unless these data sets have been validated by third parties using, of course, ground measured data as well. So some sources for ground measured data are the World Radiation Monitoring Center, the World Meteorological Organization. There are in Africa some networks, for example, the Global Energy Balance Archive, that is also of global reach, but for Africa, the Southern African Universities Radiometric Network and the Trans-African Hydrometeorological Observatory. Also, the World Bank has some data sets for some African locations. So all of these data bases have different characteristics in terms of spatial coverage, resolution, the type of parameters that are available, and the accuracy of the measurements. So before using this data, please check if it fits your purpose. In terms of satellite-derived data, so here what we do is we derive the information about solar irradiance components from remote sensing data that is provided by satellite imaging and radiometric sensors in satellites, according to atmosphere radiative models. So why do we need to use these type of data? Because high quality local observations of the solar resource are usually only available in a few locations. They are generally far from the locations of interest for energy exploitation. And also the time series usually have short monitoring periods, which prevents the assessment of the solar radiation of interannual variability, which is crucial to quantify the uncertainty associated with the solar resource availability. So several times we need to recur to these satellite-derived data, and usually in pre-feasibility and feasibility studies. If you are doing more detailed studies, if you are planning to build a station, a power plant, then usually after you use the satellite-derived data or the data coming from the numerical weather models, then you go for measuring from ground measured data and you build a station on the local. So moving further on the satellite derived data, the main data sets cover all locations on Earth between latitude 60 degrees north and 60 degrees south. The data is available for higher latitude locations, but with lower temporal resolutions. For example, polar orbit satellites, you can have data every 100 minutes only, while in between the 60 north and 60 south, you have higher temporal resolution. The accuracy also varies greatly across different data sources for satellites information and across locations, time periods, and sky conditions. So the advantages of the satellite-derived data is the high temporal resolution. So usually you can get sub-hourly temporal resolutions with high spatial resolution. So usually the pixels have size with 1 to 10 kilometers. The data sets are available for most regions of the world, and usually long-term data is available. However, it has some disadvantages. For example, higher uncertainties than ground measured data. Solar variability also sometimes cannot be well captured, especially under highly fragmented clouds situations. This is because not all spatial points will be collected by the satellite at the same time. And so this gives some problems when dealing with the solar variability and increases the uncertainty of this data source. Another disadvantage is that the satellite, the models behind the satellite data are affected by the solar and the viewing geometry of the satellite. So for example, here in the top row, we have a situation where both the satellites sees the same situation as the one that is happening on the ground. So here clear sky, here blocked by a cloud. But it can happen that due to the viewing geometry, the satellite, for example, will see a cloud when in fact what we have is clear sky conditions at the location that we are analyzing, or the opposite, for example. So this is also one disadvantage of this type of data. There are plenty of several data sources. One of the most well-known, which is freely available, all of these data sources that I'm mentioning are freely available, are the Copernicus Atmospheric Monitoring Service. So this is a service provided by an European Union project, also program. The CAMS radiation service, also the SARA data source, and many others. Perhaps one of the well-known and with a very simple user graphical interface is PVGS, which also provides radiation information for Africa. So finally, the last type of data source is the numerical weather performance models. They combine meteorological observation and numerical weather prediction models to obtain long-term retrospective estimation of several atmospheric and climatic variables, including solar irradiation. This type of data is also called reanalysis data. And there are two main types of reanalysis, the ones based in global models and the ones based in mesoscale or regional models. The advantages of these models is that you have uniform grid data for the entire world, or you can have uniform grid data for the entire world. They are temporally consistent without missing data, and you can have data for a long-term period that, for example, can go back up to 30 years. However, this data also has several disadvantages. One of them is the low spatial resolution when compared with satellite data, and even more when compared with the ground measured stations. So the highest spatial resolution comes from a ERA5 model with a grid of 0.28 degrees by 0.28 degrees of arc. So high temporal resolution is unavailable, so the typical resolution for this data is between 1 to 6 hours. these models can predict well clear sky conditions, but they don't perform so well when considering other conditions, so no clear sky conditions. So only a small amount of the observed variability in the radiation is usually well captured when we are not within clear sky conditions. And they cannot account for the effect of aerosols. So this is very relevant, for example, for concentrating applications. And this information that I had mentioned. So here is the relative root mean square errors for different regions in the world. For example, here is Mozambique or North Africa for different models. And you can see that it's quite high in the tens, always above 10%, but roughly here in the range of 20 to 30%. So there are several models, as I mentioned. These are so some of the most well-known and available. And besides the data sets, there are also some platforms and tools that provide data considering hybrid solutions. For example, combining satellite and reanalysis data, or combining satellite data with interpolation of ground measured data. And so some examples of free platforms with data for the African continent are the NASA Power platform, Renewables Ninja, and PVGs. Yes.
Yes, I'm afraid time is up. It's 11:06. So maybe you can wind up or
yes.
Yeah.
I'm winding up, just showing up what we performed for Kenya, where we performed the comparison of satellite-driven data sets and ground-measured data with ground-measured data. So we had data from 3 stations, and we had satellite-driven data sets that you can see here on the left. And we performed a comparison in terms of the Pearson correlation, bias, and root mean square error, to try to figure it out which was the data source that was best for use within the PUREMS project. And as you can see, we saw that CAMS here was actually the one with higher correlation for lower bias and root mean square error, and thus was the one that we decided to choose for this. So here are some plots, but I'm running out of time, so I'm not going to explain them, just to look here at the mean daily profile for global horizontal irradiance. You can see the deviation, for example, between the station, one of the stations, and PVGs. And you can see here, for example, it's very interesting because it underpredicts in the morning and overpredicts in the morning and underpredicts in the afternoon. And here in this figure, and I'm finishing up, you can see also the scattering plots for different data sources. And you can see here clearly, even graphically, that CAMS has a less scattered distribution. So my final remarks, a reliable assessment of solar resource is crucial to quantify solar irradiance that is available for energy conversion at a specific location over a specific period of interest. For PUREMS, this assessment aimed to identify the capabilities of solar energy to provide local people's needs, either for solar cooking or for electricity production, to use electricity cooking solutions. And a main takeaway, it's important to assess for each case study the most adequate data. And in this case, an example of the work that we performed for Kenya, where CAMS showed the highest performance for the 3 ground-based stations that were available, with data available. You have some recommended readings if you want. The first one is open source and it's free. You can go and check it. I really recommend it. Thank you so much. And I'm available for your questions in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jean, for that presentation and for also showing the solar resource in one of the countries. Teresa, if you're ready, I will share your screen on the business models.
Yes, thank you, Sandra.
Okay.
Okay, so please on presentation mode. Okay, so thank you. Good morning, everyone, again. You can pass that one. it will be available for everyone who wants to see. So so today we are here talking about clean cooking, and in fact I just put it here some topics related with the problem that we are trying to solve here. So as you know, there are a large amount of people that don't have access to electricity and for cooking also, and that use polluting fuels to cook. So this is in fact a big problem, not only in Africa, but also in other geographies like India, for example. And there is a Sustainable Development Goal, SDG 7, that refers in fact to this problem and tries to calls for universal access to affordable, reliable, and sustainable modern energy by 2030. The fact that this after this SDG 7 was launch together with the other ones, there have been a lot of effort from several countries to meet this goal and to try to reduce as far as we could to make a transition for clean cooking in the countries where this problem is in fact very, very large. So facing this, there have been some improvements, for example, in the release of some funds to support the different initiatives that have appeared on this area. For example, MCFA, Propor RBF on Rwanda, Clean Cooking Fund, and some other. However, what we find is that this is still not enough. So we still need to continue working on this and trying to contribute as much as we can for this transition to clean cooking. And PURAMS, as Sandra referred at the beginning of the session, is trying also to contribute for the solution to this problem. Next, please. So here I show you some of the barriers that have been identified on the different countries. And if you can take just a quick look at the table, what we can see is most, at least in the 3 target countries that we are dealing with in this project, there are common barriers to the development of clean cooking in these countries. And we could point out, for example, the high costs that are associated to this type of solutions, and also the poor financial support to the companies and to the end users. Next, please. Okay, so here is the proposal. And it will be further developed later in the session. Okay, if it's the so one of the things that was found to be and that supported the selection of this type of system was the fact that to be applied, for example, in markets or in households that sell food, it would be a good solution for them to cook faster and in a more sustainable way. So, but this topic will be further discussed in another presentation. Next, please. Okay. So this is just an overview of what we done in order to gather information for the business model. And it was very important, the part referred to the data collection, so that we could somehow understand the problems that that people were facing when cooking with traditional fuels, and also to understand the difference between the before the use of the EPCs, as Sandra said at our presentation, and the other colleagues on data collection, and after. So it was important to understand what they were gaining with the transition to another system, and also for us to understand what they were gaining in terms of time and their thoughts, of course. Next, please. So in terms of methodology, it was exactly what I referred. So we studied the cooking habits, and with the EPC's experiments, we understood the electricity needs for the implementation of the system, and also their socioeconomic context. So with this information, we were able to build and develop a set of elements that would make part of our business model at the end. And for that, we used Canvas in order to organize all those elements and to understand if we were missing something, if there were issues that we needed to address in the development of the business model. Next, please. So here is just a picture of the schematic of the model, where we identify all the relevant models. This is a well-known model, very straightforward to use, so we decided to use it exactly because of that. Next, please. Okay, so here I'm just going to make an overview of the elements that we have characterized. So the most important part at the beginning was to understand how the product could be sold. So we needed to show what was the value of the system that we were trying here to develop, and to make people understand the benefits of them. So it is common sense. We know that this will increase the time available for other tasks or leisure, and this was something that was shown in the surveys. So at the end of the EPC's experiment, there were questions related to this. And what we find out is that the users that participated on the experiments were quite happy with the system, and with the time they gained for other things. So in terms of customers, of course, here we are talking about domestic households and also fairs, markets, or other selling food facilities. And then we had to think, well, how are we going to reach the target customers? So what we thought was that the main flow would be to start with mouth to mouth, and the experiments were very important for that, because since there was a very high satisfaction from the users of the EPCs, this would probably be a very good way to disseminate the use of this type of system. Next, please. Well, then there are other elements that are needed. So relations with customers. In this aspect, some models of the stoves and electric supply system are being studied in order to develop the product at a competitive cost. And this is part of the tests phase of the prototypes. Then the return on investment channel. So how will the sellers be able to have some revenue on their products? And this can be a problem, as we will see next. You can pass, please, Sheila. In terms of resources that are necessary to implement the business, this is a matter that is still under discussion, But what we thought in the first place is that there are already EPCs being sailed and manufactured. So since we are developing an adjusted EPC, as you will see in another presentation in more detail, this can be a way to start the distribution of the system. But this is something that will be adjusted. And then you have the key activities related with user training, product development, and all of that, and the key partners, which are mainly the suppliers, installers, marketing companies, and experts, technicians, and all of that. Next, please. We also made the cost structure of the elements that were used to develop the equipments, and at this time prototyping and testing is going on, so it will be finished very shortly. There is also the need to develop other activities or to analyze other things, and one that is the most concerned one is the ability to pay. So this is something that is difficult to overcome. Next. So about the ability to pay and affordability from the consumers, what we understood is that based on the costs that were spent for the prototypes and taking a look at medium and minimum incomes, at least on the target countries on this project, we find that affordability is very reduced. So there is the need to understand ways and to manage schemes to overcome this issue. Next, please. So we analyzed some business instruments, saw some thoughts on MEX and on other platforms, and what we understood is that most of the products being sold in these countries follow a business model related with pay-as-you-go. It seems to be the most interesting to implement, but however, it has a very high risk. So it is important to refer that the risk that is taken by the sellers and the suppliers with this business model is very high. So it needs to be supported by other actions. Next, please. And to almost finish. So we have other two proposals and procedures that are being also implemented, which is tool only and tool and full. And we know that there are some funding and support to companies by programs that are being implemented in some of these countries. But it is not enough. So there is the need to involve governments to support the companies and the buyers in the form of subsidies and incentives. And without this, there won't be, it will be very difficult to implement this type of products. Next. So just to finalize, the other one, please, just to finish. Okay. So this is just a summary, and I would just like to highlight that the support from the government is crucial to establish some incentives and subsidies to reduce the problem. And also, there is the need to increase the number of programs also for this support. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa, for the overview of the business models. I think that was quite insightful on how far the project has come. I will then proceed to share David's presentation, and I think this will be the last presentation before the break. So please hang in there, and yeah, let's just let me just share David's presentation, and then we'll proceed to break after that.
Okay.
It's loading. Okay. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
You heard me well? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, my presentation is about an overview about solar cooking technologies. Oftenly, we have other experts in this webinar that will talk about and with experience in field with about this solar cooking technologies. But what is interesting is to follow the kind of projects and models and types that usually is using and in many places in the world. This is an image for about 4 million solar cookers and about 14 millions of people that share and benefit from the solar cooking. Of course, is very distributed and perhaps is most concentrated in other countries that has a good solar resources. But what interesting is this is spread all over the world, and of course with different applications. Next, please. So we have here a little bit about the distribution of a classification of solar cookers. Normally, we have more the types, and this is a classification. There is another classification, but normally there's possibly two structural types, the cooking method and the thermal storage. I don't talk about the thermal storage, and the cooking method is related to the explanation in this presentation. So it is quite easy to follow. But the structural type and the box cookers, the concentrated cookers, and the panel cookers, it's interesting to see that is a thermal way of follow that kind of types, and this is interesting to see how it works in the field. So please, next, please. We begin in the solar cookers, and the solar cookers normally with boxes, and normally a box is good insulated and with good reflection. And there are many types of systems that normally could achieve and connected also with walls. And this is very interesting to see, and probably the most spread situation for all over the world. Next, please. There are other applications for solar concentration, normally very spread also, but not too easy to, because we need to follow the sun very easily. So it is important to achieve the cooker systems. And normally it is interesting because we can follow a good efficiency in the related to the other types of solar cookers, but not normally is this dish with a 1 to 2 meters, and normally there are another applications that we want to follow in this webinar with other systems with the solar concentration. Okay, please, next. Of course, the solar panel cookers is the most easy way to follow and do reflection of the sun. There's many models and applications and adapted to geographies and systems, but it's very easy and the lower efficiency. So, but it is more cheap and it's a good starting point to experiment the solar cooking. Okay, next. This fact, okay, please follow. Next. Okay, next. Okay. Next, please. Okay. Next. Okay, for the testing, you have some norms and standards that we can use. Normally, they are a good spread of ASI that is very known, but of course, it's not connected and applied to every models of solar types. But it is interesting to see that we can show and follow that application. Next, please. Here we have, of course, another our model, the model that we develop in our procedures, and normally it is interesting to see that we must adapt the testing systems and the standards to develop the same results and applications. So, of course, we talk about the thermal and talk about electric, but the application is the same as the cooking systems that we have to implement. Okay, so next, please. Okay, this is the standard testing normally that we have in our labs, and of course the ISO and ASI standards, and of course they are performance evaluation procedures that is normally developed by the Solar Cooking International that is very spread worldwide, and it is interesting to follow up. Okay, next, please. So the lesson learned is about to application and think like everybody knows, but what is interesting to see, it is applied to every systems that we know about the models and the types that we can recommend. Next, please. Okay, this is reference that we follow, and of course, this is my finish of my presentation, and I hope that this teams and subject will be complemented by other speakers in the follow-up section. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, David. Yes, thank you, David. The next presentation you have is on the prototype, the prototypes that have been built under the PURAMS project. And our next presenter is Vincent from Strathmore University. And we also have Gustavo will also join and present us on the prototypes that we have. Thank you. So maybe Vincent, you can share a presentation.
Sheila, I think we're supposed to go on a break before Vincent and Gustavo present.
Yeah, I think we can make a shorter break.
Okay.
A shorter,
yeah.
okay.
I think we can make 5 minutes.
5 minutes, yes.
Instead of the 10, just to allow people to absorb all the information that they've just had. And maybe we can come back in 5 minutes, and we'll still be online. Please don't leave the chat. Please just come back 5 minutes. So it will be 38 past 11 for 38 past the hour. Yeah. Then we can continue with Vincent and Gustavo.
Okay, thank you so much, Sandra. I believe we can now start because it's 11:38.
Yeah.
Yes. So Vincent will present next on the Hello. Are we all back? Ready? Yes. So Vincent is presenting next on the prototype built on forums, and then later we'll have Gustavo do the presentation. Okay. Thank you. So you can come in, Vincent.
Hi everyone. Hopefully you've had a chance to sip some tea or some water. So my name is Vincent Mushiri. I'm a design engineer and energy researcher at UNESCO Chair. I work with my colleagues Sheila Brenda and Sandra. So for the past maybe 1 year or so, I've been working on the prototype for the DC EPC. And yeah, I will be presenting on my findings today. So yeah, so I think Sandra had presented on this before. So this is the procedure on which we took when it comes to developing the prototype. So we started by designing the designing of the cooker. One of the things we did was taking different considerations when it comes to the areas of improvements, because DC EPCs, that's an already existing, we have several DC EPCs existing in the market, and also ACPCs. So first we did was to consider the possible areas of improvement for the existing ones. Where do they fall short, when, especially when it comes to the efficiency of the cooking efficiency? Because for our case, it's unique. We are making a standalone DC EPCs, which means you have especially for rural areas, so where we don't have grid access yet, and after I will present further on the selection of suitable cooker technologies. So we did the development and the testing of the prototypes. We did a couple of iterations when it comes to the designs, and the next phase of our project will be piloting of the cookers after the laboratory tests. So one of the existing DCPCs, as you can see on the left side, is the VIA DCPC and the MEX DCPC. I think MEX has been referenced on several slides and presentations. So upon doing several tests with the VIA, and the MEX EPC, we found out that for our proposed prototype, we need it to be somewhere in between VIA and MEX when it comes to both the power efficiency and also the cooking time. So for the MEX EPC, we tested up for 80-watt EPC, which for 80-watt EPC. So our aim was to design a mode of heating which consumes much less power, but does not compromise the cooking process by cooking for a very long time. So one of the upon doing literature reviews, one of the technology that we found very interesting was using positive temperature coefficients, otherwise known as PTCs, which have the advantage because they are self-regulating. They have self-regulating properties, meaning they consume less current as temperature increases. So we, for our EPC, the system which we were working with was 24 volts. So we purchased a number of 24 volts PTCs, arranged them in a different configuration, tested different temperature ranges from 150 degrees Celsius all the way to a maximum of 250 degrees Celsius. And when we did the test, we settled on 200 degrees Celsius PTC because they were in the optimum range where they don't consume so much power, but yet we can achieve the required temperature ranges, which is a maximum of 200 degrees. So on the left, so here we have two designs. On the left, we have one of the proposed designs, which was a hybrid PTC, PTC design, which used both the resistive coil, just the normal coils which you find in your EPCs, be it AC, DC. We also find it in other heating mechanisms in electric water kettles or ovens. Yeah, so we combined the resistive coil resistive coil design with PTCs, and also we designed a PTC only design. Reason which we did this is to eliminate the conformation bias. So we wanted to compare both of them and then see how can we get, especially the hybrid design, can we get both of the advantages in both the resistive and the PTC's heating mechanisms. So we designed the electrical circuits for both the prototypes, as you can see on the right side. Yeah, mostly especially when it comes to PTCs. PTCs have a tendency to have inrush current, which means the moment the moment electricity flows through the PTCs, the current shoots way high. So one of the challenges which you had was to reduce the effects of the inrush currents and minimize, especially when it comes to the PTC only designs, because you're using 6 PTCs. So here are the fabricated models. So we used 3D printed models to confirm that our designs will fit inside the EPCs, and also we shared the models with, also the models are useful when it comes to the manufacturing part of it. So to create what we call mold patterns to cast the aluminium for the hot plates. So yeah, so as you can see here, we have the PTC only model, and then we have the fabricated hybrid model. So after manufacturing the prototypes, what we did next was to do a couple of lab tests to confirm what we did, the simulations which we did. So we compared the existing MEX EPC and both the prototypes, so the hybrid and the PTC only. We did the same cooking tests for the 3 of them, and then we compared the two. So so the results which we found was that actually the PTC only, we expected that the hybrid only will have the best of both worlds when it comes to the resistive, the high cooking temperature of the resistive elements, and then the PTC when it comes to maintaining the heat. But we actually found that the PTC only outperformed the hybrid one when it comes to the power efficiency and also the cooking time. So the PTC only was much more power efficient and also cooked food faster. As you can see, we consumed an average for the PTC only 120 watts, but for the hybrid was the initial cooking phase, which we were timing the coils to cook with the 2 resistive coils, which came to around 500 watts. Then half that power all the way to around 250 watts, and then now maintain the heat using PTCs, which was roughly around 150 watts. So when you add that up, the power consumption was way high compared to the PTC only. So we did a couple of tests, especially with the hybrid one, by changing the timing. How long do we cook with the resistive element, and how long do we cook with the PTC element? So after that, when we settled on, before we go to the field test, we also did a number of lab tests mostly for safety purposes. As we were doing the iterations, because we found out that as we were cooking, sometimes the pressure would build up too much and would eventually trigger the safety release valves for the pressure. So we had to configure and yeah, we had to configure the pressure controls for both the EPCs and also, yeah, as we were doing the lab tests and before we realized that before we could send the EPCs to the field. So the next steps of the prototyping phase is to do the field tests in partnering countries. This is Kenya partnering with REREC and Rwanda. The partnering countries, Kenya, Rwanda, Mozambique, and Spain. And also we will also be doing the global leap tests and some ISO compliant tests. These will be both destructive and non-destructive tests for both the prototypes. And then final step will be reporting and information dissemination to all the stakeholders. Yeah, so that's the end of my presentation. Not sure whether Gustavo will make it to the presentation.
Thank you, Vincent. So if Gustavo, if you're here, kindly unmute and.
Well, Gustavo sent me a message. He has just landed, so he won't be able to do the presentation. We can briefly pass his slides.
Okay, sure. Let me do that. Okay.
Oh, he's here. He's here.
He's here. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Just right on time.
Okay. So Gustavo, you're on for the next presentation. So I have shared your slide. If that's okay, you can just move on. If you need to do it from your end, that's okay too.
I can share my own screen if you want.
Pardon, sorry?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yes, can hear you.
So I'm gonna share my own screen.
Okay, sure.
Because I've modified just slightly the presentation.
It's okay.
Can you see my screen? No.
Yeah. Yes, you can now see your screen.
Okay, I think you can see my screen right now, right?
Yes, we can.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi?
Yes.
Okay. Well, can I start right now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm so sorry for this delay. I was flying from Sweden, so I just arrived to Stockholm. Let me have a look here. This one, this here. Okay, now. Yeah, I will start with the presentation. Well, my name is Gustavo de Miguel. I'm coming from the University of Córdoba in Spain. And following the presentation of my college, I'm going to talk today about the fabrication of prototypes within the PUDANS project. This slide is just a reminder of the main goal of this project, developing of a standalone solar cooking appliance in order to address some challenges in rural African communities. Looking at the literature, we can find different strategies to take advantage of the solar energy to cook different type of meals. And this is one type of solar approach, the box type solar ovens. With this prototype, you can achieve a temperature of 140 degrees Celsius in 4 hours at these external conditions. The disadvantages of these ovens are you need to orientate and to move the position of this oven, solar oven, according to the position of the sun. Another approach is the use of parabolic solar ovens. With this technology, you can achieve much higher efficiencies from 200 to 300 Celsius degrees at much higher thermal efficiency. But the disadvantages of this technology is that you need to use larger size. You also need to orientate the device according to the position of the sun, and it's much more expensive compared to the previous one. So in summary, in both situations, in both cases, it takes time to cook the meals, and there is a strong dependence on the weather conditions. Because of these reasons, there have been different alternatives in order to take advantage of the solar energy to cook food, to cook meals. And there has been different approaches, and one of them is the one that is already described in a publication published in 2015. The use of electric cooker power with photovoltaic solar energy. In this article, it's a homemade cooker which was fabricated and it's running with a power of less than 80 watts. It was possible to achieve heating temperatures of about 124 Celsius degrees. And well, according to the specification of the details in this paper, it was, and they were using direct current converter and regulation units. But let's have a look to our approach. What exactly are we going to do in this project? Well, our idea is to use direct current power electric pressure cooker. And for this goal, we're going to use 4 commercial photovoltaic panels. We are also going to use a commercial maximum power point tracking charge controller, which is going to be the intermediate between the solar photovoltaic panels and the commercial EPC from MEX. This charge controlling is going to power the EPC cooker. The main device that is needed to be used in this approach, in this prototype, is the solar photovoltaic panels. So we're going to use 4, which are enough to power our EPC. We're going to use the one deep blue from JA Solar Mono Solar Panel. These solar panels are fabricated with monocrystalline silicon by using the PERC technology. The particular characteristics of the solar panels that were used in this prototype are the following. The maximum power was 405 watts. Maximum circuit voltage was 31 voltage. Maximum power current 12.198 amperes. The open circuit voltage 37.23 volts. The short circuit current 13.87 amperes. All of these characteristics are obtained upon the irradiance, upon an external irradiance of 1000 watts per meter square and an outer temperature of 25 Celsius degrees. Dimensions of the panels are 1.7 by 1.1 meters. The thickness is 1 centimeter and the weight is 21.5 kilograms. One important aspect of this device is the price, of course. So at the time and the panels were purchased, the price was 137.46 euros in 2022. But I was having a look to the prices during the last few weeks. It seems to be that there was a strong reduction in the price. So just last week, the price for one of these panels was just 67.76 euros. These panels were purchased in a website, a commercial website that is delivering these panels all around Europe. Second important device in our prototypes are the charge controller, which is mediating through in between the solar panels and the EPC KUKA. It allows to maintain the maximum power. And this one, the one that was selected for the prototype, is working up to a value 150 volts and 60 amperes from the solar panels. And the commercial company is Blue Solar. The model is Victron. We are using a direct current pressure cooker in our prototype, and the reason for this is to avoid the use of the inverter, because the inverter is the device that is converting the direct current into alternative current. We do this in order to simplify the electrical components we need to use for the prototype and also to reduce the cost of the device. At the time the charge controlling was purchased, the price was 464.48 euros. And just having a look to the prices last week, there was a slight increase in the price to 570.76 euros. So this charge controlling was purchased in the same website. What exactly do we need to do to evaluate the performance of our prototype? So just a few details of the experiment that was carried out in order to see if it is possible to power the EPC with our solar panels. So we're gonna boil 1 liter of water from room temperature, and the solar panels were connected directly to the charge controller, which is powering the EPC. We are measuring the temperature of the water with a probe, and we're gonna close the EPC with a lid in order to avoid the heat transfer. In this figure, you can see how temperature of the water inside the EPC is changing with time. So you see here the increase. There are 3 steps. And at the same time, you can see here the current and the power and the voltage we are providing to the EPC at the different steps. Initially, the external temperature was 17 Celsius degrees. The initial temperature of the water inside the EPC was 22 Celsius degrees. The probes to measure the temperature were incorporated inside the pressure valve in order to minimize the heat transfer to the external atmosphere. This experiment was carried out in winter in the facilities of the University of Córdoba in Córdoba in Spain. In January 25th this year was winter time. And in addition to this, the day was partially cloudy, so we could not control the irradiance at the different times. So as you can see here in this figure, in the first hour, so we have a linear increase of the temperature. After this hour, we have 2 higher slopes regarding temperature with time. So this is the first one, and finally this one. These correspond to different irradiance during these 3 steps. As I said, the heating process is regulated with a charge controlling, which is delivering the maximum power to the EPC according to the irradiance and the voltage and ampere current that is provided by the solar panels. Initially, we have values of 9.6 volts and 8.9 amperes in this first step. which means a total power of 85 watts. So we can observe a linear increase in the temperature with time. During the second step, the voltage was 17.5 volts and the current was 15.9 amperes. That means a total power of 278 watts. And in the last step, during this last one, that means a much higher irradiance. We were, the controller was delivering a voltage of 26.2 volts and a current of 23.6 amperes, which means a total power of 618 during this last step. And that's the reason why the temperature is increasing much faster compared to the first two steps. Okay, just a few details about me, and well, thank you for attending to this webinar, and I'm sorry for the difficulties with the connection and probably with the noise.
Okay, thank you so much, Gustavo. That was a
No
great
problem.
presentation. Yeah. So the next presentation we have is on the overview of the policy, product value, and social factors of environment of electric cooking. The presentations are from Engineer Kamweru from REREC and Dominique, the Program and Business Development Manager from ASG. So if you can kindly share your screen, that would be great. Thank you.
Sheila, I think you can proceed, sharing.
Okay, doing that.
Okay, thank you. This presentation is done by two teams from Kenya and Rwanda. I'm Fantas Kamwelo and Dominic Xavier. And next slide. Next slide. Hello? Sheila, can you hear me? Next slide, next slide. They are going to see this one.
I think it's Sandra. Okay, let me share.
Sorry, I lost my internet. Sorry about that. Yeah. Should I go to the next slide?
Yeah, okay. I'm a Fantas. I work from LELEC. I work for LELEC. Next slide. I'm in charge of research and innovation. I'm Engineer Fantas Kamwelo Dominic. Is in ASG. So next slide. Are we having a challenge? Next. Next. We are going to talk about the policy framework document and also value chain and capacity building. And I'm going to discuss the part for the policy, and Dominic will discuss the part for market and capacity assessment. So for action 2, this value chain, go back to the other one. First of all, go back to the other one. Go to
Should I
the
just
previous
share?
slide.
It seems that my network is really bad. Maybe Sheila, you can share. It seems like I'm moving, but
Okay.
it doesn't reflect. Is this the one?
Okay, yeah. Okay, for the aspect of the policy, the objective is to assess the policy.
Sorry, engineer. Let Sheila just share. It will be a bit faster. Seems I have some network issues.
Okay. Is this the slide?
Yeah, you can stay there. You can start here.
Okay.
Actually, okay, the objective is to assess the policy landscape and engage policymakers to understand the policy. So and the registries and regulatory environment. This is the one of the area we are looking at. And go to the next slide, the one which Dominic will also share about. The other one was a mapping of the product value chain. And the objective is to map the e-cooker value chain to understand placement of cooker in sector across the 3 countries. And the methodology was the same for all of them. We were able to do literature review. We did questionnaire, COBO 2, it was primary data and secondary data. We were able to come up with a report. The next slide. Okay, this is assessment of policies in Kenya. And as we did the framework about the policies and the document in our country, there are many documents which are there developed for that. And what came out was that majority of the respondents were aware their national policy, which was about 81%, and strategy was about 54% regarding clean cooking. There are other framework, like the Constitution, the Law Act of Parliament, but the documents seem not to be popular regarding of their existence. I'm going to discuss Kenya's situation, then I go to Rwanda's situation, and then I go to Mozambique. Next slide. Next slide. Okay. So the next area was the challenges in the policy areas. The barrier which hinder clean cooking adoption and the policy implementation. After doing the study, we are able to come out clearly that the critical areas were high implementation cost of solutions and technologies. We also came to note there is lack of awareness and literacy, poor engagement with stakeholder, hence resistance to clean cooking, and poor financial and political support. This is the Kenya situation. Next slide. These are the challenges in Kenya. Then what are the initiatives? Go next slide. Kenya has made a tremendous initiative and benefits toward the clean cooking initiative. Go back to the previous slide. Go back to the previous. This one. Kenya has made many initiatives like Pika na Power and Mwananchi Gas Project, Modern Energy Cooking, and Pay-Go Cylinders. All these are the initiatives which are done in Kenya. Go back. Go back. Yeah, hold on that slide. And what we have come after doing the study, we are able to note that majority of the respondents acknowledge that this initiative have led to increased adoption of e-cooking technologies after getting the evidence from the people. Go back to the other slide. I'm not with it. Yeah, this one. Now, when it comes to the successful intervention in the clean cooking, we were able to note that awareness of campaigns, innovative policy projects, training, and NGOs programs seem to be most successful intervention in clean cooking solutions. This was our finding, which I was able to determine. There are many interventions, but the one which came out is that one of the campaign innovative projects, trainings, and NGOs. It seems there's a lot for the government to proceed on that, to improve on that areas. Because even the other ones, evidence presented, there are many areas we noted. Although they acknowledge they have led to increased adoption of e-cooking technologies, but we did not expect much, like reduction of the deforestation and other places. That was the key. Go next slide. So what are the benefits of these initiatives in clean cooking? So we are able to see, this is Rwanda country, and we are able to see one of the critical areas that like Kenya, one of the most area people are aware is national policy. You can see the highest in that study. Then even the national strategy is also the second highest. So these are the areas which indicated that these people are aware of them and they are really enhancing a lot in the country. And there's a lot to be done to improve like regulations and procedures to encourage the people to be aware of that. So we can see that these are the key dominant areas which were able to, the framework which people from Rwanda were able to understand. Next slide. When it comes to the barriers to clean cooking adoption in Rwanda, it was clear that there is a high implementation technology cost, which were one of the critical areas, lack of awareness and access to clean cooking solutions, lack of alternative and supportive commercial, and high requirement of skilled human resources. These are some of the barriers, which are all of them like similar to Kenya, but there's a difference in the countries. Because Kenya, we noted there's some aspect to do with the political aspect. But here in Luanda is not happening. It seems the government in Luanda is supporting much in this initiative, but both of them high implementation and technology costs stood out. So these are areas we need to have improvement on. Next slide. What are the barriers in clean cooking? What are the impact? What are the impact of clean cooking policies on target groups in Luanda? We are able to, it was clear that there are many initiatives like resource-based financing, biomass energy strategy, approved. All these are some of the things which are initiated in Luanda. But we came to notice that for increased uptake of electric cooking, clean cooking solutions in household, that was what's one of the things which has hit existing one of the contribution, and the impact is that it is like the Rwanda government is focusing on e-cooking updates in household and for food beverage industry. These are the area the government has really focused on in the Rwanda. Next slide, please. Now we come to Mozambique. Mozambique, we can say they also has policy and they have also standards. We're able to see like energy laws and regulation, tariffs are also there, and safety standard. And you know, for Mozambique, we're able to collect the secondary data. We are able to get the secondary primary data. But next slide. Some of the challenges in Mozambique for barrier to clean cooking adoption and policy implementation is that there's a major obstacle like physical benefits for renewable energy investors, but no application for e-cooking, low consumer awareness, electric cooking, low access to electricity among the rural population, unreliable electricity supply. And we noted unreliable electricity supply is also one of the barriers in Kenya, limited access to service to modern energy efficient e-cooking. Seems there's need for people to invest in e-cooking, and high import costs for business in due to taxes and tariffs. And the same thing also, the taxes also apply to across the countries, which were some of the areas we need to intervention. Now can we next? We go to the impact. So there are many initiatives in Rwanda, like also in Mozambique, like what we have also seen in other countries. And we can see there are many initiatives like GSAD has done a lot of that. Government of Mozambique is doing initiative, Energy Environmental Partnership, EPP Africa. These are some of the people who have made impact in clean cooking initiative in this country, and they are really positive. Next slide, please. Now going to the lessons learned, and we can see that from all the three countries, the significance of community engagement in initiation, formulation, and implementation of the policies. Sometimes policies are done without engaging the community, stakeholders, the people who play a lot, so that's why they don't have much response. So it is important to have public participation. That's our recommendation of the involved stakeholder in decision-making process. We also noted that there is need for sustainable financial mechanism toward this stakeholder engagement. And we need intervention like introduction of favorable tax environment to attract clean cooking investment. Some countries has been reducing taxation, but later they are introducing them. So there's a lot of instability in this area of the taxation. So subsidies are removed, but so some tax regimes need to be intervened so that we're able to maximize and promote the e-cooking. There's another area we noted the policy and regulatory framework to be effective. Sensitization to the stakeholder is key. This is going to foster the realization of access to affordable e-cooking solution. There's another intervention. There is also need to adopt technological advancement in e-cooking is very critical. So that we need, like in Kenya, introduction of tariff for e-cooking. There was such an initiative, but I don't think it has been adopted later. Even Rwanda. So if you can have e-cooking to ensure adoption, tariff specifically for those who are cooking, is can be able to promote the e-cooking and so it's also important to synchronize the many policies for ease and effectiveness of implementation. So we can promote solar-powered cookers in rural areas, ensure development, realization, and your structured strategies toward clean cooking promotion. These are some of the intervention we are able to see there can be help to us in promotion of the clean cooking solution, especially solar cooking and e-cooking, and all of them are recommended. Maybe I now want to call Dominic to finish the other part for product value chain and socio factor challenges in the three countries. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Engineer Kamel. I'm going to discuss part of product value chain and social factors related to e-cooking. We have identified that the main challenge in this product value chain is uncertainty in the regulatory framework, unfavorable financing conditions, lack of incentives for acquisition of new solutions, lack of public acceptance to the proposed cooking solutions, and cultural and behavioral factors. Go to the next slide. We have identified solutions in those mentioned challenges. One of the proposed solutions is infrastructure investment to enhance and expand energy infrastructure, including systems for power generation, power transmission, and distribution, just to boost reliability and minimize downtime, as to build the confidence just to use e-cooking solutions. We have to make sure that the grid is reliable and stable. And we should also do grid modernization, update and modernize existing grids with smart technologies like advanced metering infrastructure to just monitor the grid and respond to outage when it happens. We have to also lower costs of electricity. If we should promote e-cooking, electricity tariff should be subsidized heavily. Supply the market with affordable cooking appliances, as we have identified that the high uptake cost of e-cooking is still a challenge. We should also introduce subsidies and consumer financing mechanisms. We should also do localized awareness campaign to make sure that every citizen knows the importance of cooking using modern cooking technologies, including reducing health-related issues. We should pilot battery-supported e-cooking to mitigate grid reliability concerns in off-grid areas, and we should facilitate innovation of off-grid solutions. We should emphasize on training to proper disseminate the use of the new appliances, and we should also make sure that we have available catalogs with simple instruction when it comes to the use of new product like e-cooking solutions. Next. The project impact, we understand that the result from this project will help policymakers and regulation makers to sit down and think on favorable policy for the sector. And for product value chain and social factors, we propose that by fostering local manufacturing, building a robust supply chain, and setting up maintenance support, just to make sure the after-sales services of the new provided solutions is taken into considerations. Reduction in health hazards, e-cookers will eliminate the harmful smoke and pollutant associated with traditional biomass, leading to better respiratory health and overall well-being for users. And we have to keep this in mind when we do our market campaign or social behavior change factors. We should promote improvement in household safety. In all the design we think to make, we should promote safety as of first priority. Next slide. and we are happy that we are to the end of our presentation, and we want to thank you for giving your time to us and listening to what we have just in the last 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Dominic. Thank you, Engineer Kamweru. The next presentation is on solar thermal cooking systems for domestic and industrial use by Celestino Ruivo. Celestino is the professor at the University of Algarve, and you're welcome to present. Thank you.
Good solar morning. Many thanks for inviting me to be here without you. Are you hearing me properly?
Yes, yes.
Yes, you can hear you.
Yeah. Okay.
So I would start by mentioning that I became infected with the solar cooking virus in 2006. So it means that solar cooking is my passion, as it is written in my shirt. It means also that 80% of my meals, 80% of my hot drinks, like coffee, Indian chai, karofi, are prepared by solar cookers by using directly the sun. So I am an intensive user of solar cooking. For example, to mention these days, last week and this week, I am having my breakfast at 7:30 in the morning. And I am arriving my home after 6 p.m. And after arriving my home, after 6 p.m., I am making the dinner for my family using, again, solar cookers. During these days, I am doing experiments, testing solar cookers in the lab at university, but I am also making my solar lunch by using, in this case, portable solar cookers here at the university. So I am participating in this moment, in this webinar here, but at the same time, just before this just after this all outside, there are two cookers making our lunch for people here working in the lab. For me, for the technicians, and also for a student. So, but the question is, why I'm not going to the cafeteria that we have, a cafeteria here in the university, for taking my breakfast? Or why I'm not going to the canteen that we have here also in the campus to have my lunch? And why I'm not using gas for making my dinner? So why? There are several reasons. One is because I have solar cookers. The other reason is because I am living in a place where I have a very short number of non-solar cooking days. So here in south of Portugal, in Faro, days completely cloudy or raining a lot. There are very, unfortunately, are very few. But why? Mainly because I want to do it. I want to give priority to the sun to prepare my meals. This is the main reason, because a lot of people have solar cookers, but they don't give the priority for the sun. I can also do that because my agenda usually is not very complicated, so I can manage it. But if my agenda was complicated, it will be good to have here in south of Portugal, because it's a very sunny region, solar cafeterias, solar restaurants, etc., etc. Okay, because the technology exists. So I will ask you to pass for the next slide, please. So I have just 2-3 slides, nothing more, because the time that you gave me for speaking is very, very short. But here in this slide, you can see very good parabolic cookers that we can use for cooking our meals or preparing our hot drinks, or for baking, even for baking. And these cookers, the Prince 15, invented by mechanical engineer Ajay Chandak in India, my great friend. This cooker is one that I am using every day at 7:30 a.m. My solar tea or my karofi or my coffee is ready here in the Prince 15 cooker. But there are other cookers similar to this one in terms of performance. Also 14 or SK14. But in the right side, I'm showing you the model invented my great friend Pedro Serrano from Chile, the model ArtSol. And you can see that this model is very robust, and it can be manufactured locally by using wood, by using glass fiber for making the parabolic dish, and it is very stable, this cooker. Okay, and it is using glass mirrors for reflecting the sun to the focus point where we are using our pot. Okay, so these kind of cookers can be used in domestic context for cooking with the same speed as we are used when cooking food with a conventional cooking device like a gas burner. Next slide, please. Can you move to the next slide, please? Okay, thank you. Here, or before, I have started in this world of solar cooking in 2006, as I said in the beginning, and I have tested a lot of solar cookers, mainly panel cookers. One of the cookers I have tested was the funnel cooker, and I made models in cardboard and then in corrugated sheet. But I realized that for intensive user, we should use a robust cooker, a permanent cooker. So here I present you the cooker that I have invented and can be manufactured also locally. If you have the molds, I can share to you the molds how to make this cooker. It is made in concrete and using common glass mirrors, and you need a black pot and a glass enclosure to make the greenhouse effect. So this is not a fast cooker, this is a slow cooker. So we cannot fry in this cooker, but we can cook slowly delicious meals in this cooker. We can also bake, we can also make jam, we can make a lot of things without the risk of burning. And this cooker has no problems with the rain, no problems with the wind, it's very stable. For that reason, the name of this cooker is Paka, is an Indian word that means robust, permanent, solid. So it is important in domestic context for cooking with solar that we have fast and slow cookers because when using slow cookers, we don't need to be close to the cookers because they can cook our meal during a period of about 2 hours for 3-4 people. It's enough. But if there are other systems for cooking, large systems that are community cooking systems and also large scale. So please, next slide. So here just some examples of the large scale systems. Mainly they exist in India, and they are based on the Schaeffler technology. And I guess next speaker will mention this technology that is well spread in India. So I have visited some installations of this, namely Brahma Kumaris center that can cook. These systems can cook for thousands of people per day, per lunch. So what we need a lot of mirrors that concentrate the solar energy in one point, in the focus point, and you can use water that becomes steam, or you can use thermal oil, and this thermal heat transfer fluid will go to the canteen for cooking, mainly the vegetables, the rice, this and that people in India are used. So it's possible to cook a large amount of food for big groups of people every day in sunny days. Obviously, for example, in India, they face the problem of monsoon weather. Maybe in Africa also you have also this problem in certain regions. But for that, we need to use a backup system. Can be using a boiler with biomass or other things. So the technology exists. So if you want, if you want, we can use the sun for cooking our meals. It is not easy, but it's possible. It is feasible. And the next slide, please. I think it is the last one. So yes, as I said in the beginning, solar cooking is my passion. I am teacher at the University of Algarve. I'm a PhD guy. I am making my papers in prestigious international journals. But what I am learning about my enthusiasm in disseminating solar cooking to other people in other, not only here in Portugal, but also in other parts of the world, that dissemination of solar cooking is equal to making friends around the world. So it's very, very, very good to feel this. And just to finish this short presentation, I inform you that I am organizing. I am the chairman of the international conference Console Food. Next one, the 6th one, will be in Marseille, in France, on May. And next week there, the solar restaurant Le Pressage will be inaugurated. So if you are living nearby France, you can go there to the inauguration. If you plan to attend or to participate in this conference, you can also send an abstract. So you are welcome. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Celestino. That was a great presentation. The next presenter is Heike. She's the managing director at Simply Solar. The presentation is on the solar cooking using Schaeffler reflectors with high temperature thermal energy storage. Thank you. You're welcome, Heike.
Can you hear us, Heike? Hello?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, we can hear you, Heike.
Yes, we hear. Okay.
There's just an issue here. Yeah, technical issues. So good morning, everybody. I will turn off my camera because I have not such a good connection. Thank you, Celestino, for already introducing our work. Yeah, my name is Heike and I'm representing Simply Solar here. I want to talk to you about solar-powered solutions for institutional situations and for food processing in the framework of 2 Horizon 2020 projects, one being a LIBRI project called Sangari, and the other one being the SOFIA project, Sustainable Off-Grid Solutions for Pharmacies and Hospitals in Africa. Next slide, please. Okay, next. I will basically refer to 2 technologies we are using. Next slide, please. First of all, I want to give a little bit of background about the SOFIA project, which is the project that brought us here as a Horizon 2020 partner to this webinar.
I would suggest to put in PowerPoint presentation mode, sorry.
May I share the slides? Because I already shared, but someone else.
Yeah, Mihaela, maybe you could do that. I will just continue talking meanwhile. So the SOFIA project is presenting the development of a concise solar energy-based solution for hospitals in Africa, the complete hospital infrastructure in terms of water treatment, cooling solutions, and thermal requirements is provided in form of a containerized solution that is fully solar powered. Here in the slide, you see the cooling container for the hospitals. Please, next slide. I have too many slides for a short time. And here you see the second container, which is called the water container, which also contains one of the technologies I want to talk about. That is our PV steam cube, which is a photovoltaic-based steam generator. We can generate steam on demand using photovoltaic electricity. The cube is what you see in front. It's a little gray box. It actually weighs a ton and contains a solid metal storage block that is charged with heat up to 400 degrees from photovoltaic panels directly and is then ready for steam generation on demand for hospital needs like laundry, large-scale cooking, and autoclaving. Next slide, please. This steam cube is actually integrated into the complete system of the solar hospital infrastructure and acts as a buffer. It acts as the thermal battery, so if there is excess PV electricity, it can be stored at any time in the thermal battery, which is very robust and presents no maintenance because it's a solid metal. This is another technology we provide in the SOFIA projects for small healthcare facilities in Africa. It's called the PV MedPort. It's an autarkic station. I don't want to elaborate on it because it's a bit far away from cooking. It's more about providing cooling. Here you see the partner countries where we implement the SOFIA project. Next slide, please. Next, yeah. Next, here you see that was photos from the first implementation in Burkina Faso, where currently the SOFIA solutions are already providing the hospital with infrastructure. I want to talk about the approach we use for clean cooking and solar food processing. The choice of technology is always as per the climate and the project environment. That means we do not focus on a certain technology, but we analyze the situation and then check out what could be suitable in the local situation. We have a strong focus on local manufacturing. The idea with the technologies we as Simply Solar provide is that they could be manufactured locally, and in some cases that is already happening. Celestino showed you some photos of large-scale solar catering installations in India, and those were all 100% manufactured in India. We don't do any cooking projects at household level. We only work with institutional cooking or industrial processing, because that environment allows better chances for sustainability of the projects, and is sort of also more economic because you don't have to deal with individual stakeholders. This is the example of the kiosk, the public kiosk of the Dr. Sidogo Hospital in Burkina Faso, where we just in the last 2-3 weeks implemented a lot of technology in the framework of the SOFIA project. And here you see the lady who is operating the canteen, and she's cooking with 2 small Scheffler reflectors, which were assembled on site. Next. Yeah, okay, and this is the canteen for up to 80 people, like staff and visitors and patients of the hospital. On the left side, you see the steam cooking vessels. In the middle, you see the cook cooking, or half of the cook. And on the right side, you see what provides the energy. That is our PV steam cube. What you see is on the left of the steam cube, the cables are coming in from the PV panels, which are on the roof of the containers. You see the containers in the left bottom picture. So some of this electricity is directly connected to our PV steam cube. You see there's a lot of electronics and an installation area for all the steam components, and then you see the steam pipe going out of the container wall, and you see the condensate return coming back in. Next slide, please. That was the SOFIA project, and I want to now present another project, which is the Libri project Sangari, which actually finished end of April this year. This project is a research project for developing solar solutions for processing of cassava, which is definitely an African staple.
Sorry, Heike, we can't hear you.
Hello?
We can hear you now, Heike.
I can't hear her.
We hear you.
It's Sheila, but I can't hear Heike.
Yeah, I can.
Hello, Heike.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. So I'm back. Okay, I don't know what happened. I did nothing. Can you go back one slide? Please go back one slide. Yeah, thank you. On the left side, you see traditional gari processing. It's already a little bit advanced because they're using improved stoves. And they use firewood, large amounts of firewood for roast. Seems there are more problems. Yeah, I'm back, I hope.
Yes.
Yeah, on the right side, you see our test setup. This is the PV Direct gari processing vessel. So we have integrated electric resistances into the vessel's outer shell and some electronics in between. And this way we can use, without battery, direct PV electricity to heat up the gari processing vessel. It's one of the solutions we wanted to test. And now please the next slide. The other solution is a steam-based vessel. So we use a double vault processing vessel and inject steam provided by these Scheffler reflectors. In the middle, where the red dot is hovering, you see the steam receivers. So we have an array of 6 reflectors here for our testing setup. Next slide, please. Next slide. And this is the third solar processing option based on our PV steam cube. Here it's a small one. You see in the Sofia project for the hospital, we had a 1 ton, 40 kilowatt hour thermal storage. And here in the Sangari test setup, we use a 70 kg steam cube. But it works the same way. Photovoltaic electricity charges the metal core, which is actually aluminum in this case. And then steam on demand is generated by switching on the pump. You see there's a small white box with a switch. This is where the operator can switch on the pump and regulate the steam production. Next slide, please. A third project I want to show you for large-scale food processing in Africa is the rice mill in Dano in Burkina Faso. This is not a Horizon 2020 project, but I still want to share this with you. It's an initiative of a German foundation, the Dreyer Foundation. This is a cooperative-run rice mill, and in the top picture you see on the left side 16 square meter Scheffler reflectors, 20 of them in fact, that provide steam to this rice mill for parboiling of rice. This is parboiling is a value addition process. On the right side you see biomass burners, which we also developed to valorize the rice husk, which is a waste product of the rice mill. And on the bottom you see the PV array with 68 kilowatt peak of PV for making sure we can use all the machinery for dehusking and sorting of the rice in the factory. Next slide, please. I think I'm at the end of my presentation. Is that okay, Sheila? I'm ending now?
Yeah.
I think you want to stop me anyway. The challenges are to maintain the quality of local production when it comes to sort of ability to market technology is often a critical aspect and sometimes lacking largely. And also manufacturers need to invest into their manufacturing setup, which is usually a difficulty for them. And on the project side, the issue is, of course, that solar hardware installation always is an upfront investment, which normally cannot be paid by the local stakeholders in Africa. So there is a large importance of external financial support for projects. Of course, Horizon 2020 projects are one way to do it, but this for a large-scale distribution is, of course, something else would be necessary. Okay, this is, I think, the end of my presentation. We can skip the last slides. Thank you very much for letting me participate here and sharing this.
Thank you so much, Heike. That was a great presentation. The next session that we do have is by David Loureiro, and he will take us through the Q&A session. So if we can come next, David.
Yes, so it is very interesting to hear about the speakers with the projects with this different scales, and we pretend with this section talk about with the questions and answers about the speakers and the participants. So if you need to put some questions, is the right time now. I have one question and the others that I put myself and the team that organized this one. But perhaps the first one is to Sandra. This is the first one that is in the beginning. And the question is, what is it? Why was only the one APC given per participant or more than one cooking appliance? This is the by Stuart Crane. I think it's to Sandra. Hello.
Yes, thank you, David. Yes, so Stuart, to answer your question, yes, we did give one EPC to each household. So we distributed 100 AC EPCs and we recorded the data as they cooked. The data was collected at GPRS, so with the energy meters. And then we use that data now to analyze at least the energy demands for each meal and to ascertain whether the prototype that would develop and eventually optimize would be able at least to meet the same energy requirements for the basic foods.
You explained very in detail our survey, your survey, and the other surveys in the African countries. But the contact people and the family is receive very rapidly and operate very rapidly this APC.
Sorry, David?
I put another question. What is the relationship between the APC and the families and the meals that normally they cook? They cook all the meals directly, or they are a training time to connect to APC?
So they chose when we were doing the pilot study, the participants, the households chose the meals that they would use the APC with. So we saw like in the morning, because tea, which is very common in a lot of Kenyan households, it's easy to prepare. So they would prepare tea with the APC, and then over lunch maybe they would use it for maybe cooking vegetables. But then we saw maybe between lunch and dinner they would use it now to boil beans, and that's also that's part of the data that informed actually us even choosing the APC, because there was a lot of beef boiling and bean boiling, especially for supper use, because in most households, especially in rural, they may not have access to a fridge, so they buy food boiled to consume in the next few hours as well.
Okay, thank you very much. There's another question that is meeting the chat, and is how many PV panels were used in that justify the value of 618 watts. I don't know if perhaps someone from the project demonstrations, I don't know, Gustavo is not here.
Gustavo is not here.
So
it's not here, but they use 4 panels.
Vicent,
but
Vicent,
yeah.
Can you make Vicent,
Yes,
are you here? Yes,
yeah,
please.
yeah,
Thank you very much.
yeah,
Do you read the question in the chat?
So
I read for you if you want to.
So Gustavo de Miguel presented results of a test in the last step of the test. He measured of power 618 watts. He also measured that one PV is rated with about 400 watts. My question: how many PV panels were used in that? Justify the value of 618 more than one PV. Yeah. For the demonstrations, as far as I know, they used like Teresa said, 4 panels. And so in the next step, actually, for the project, we're supposed to ship the prototypes to Gustavo, so that Gustavo can design a better suited system for the prototype. So for our case, actually, the 618 watts is considerably way too high. Due to the fact that we have reduced the power consumption by a huge factor. So the difference between 618 and 400 is quite big. I think that's in reference to is 400 assumption. Yeah, I would think that the reason for the oversizing is due to compensate for having you want to have a huge margin to do the proper tests. I think Gustavo mentioned that he did the test during winter. So I'm assuming that's because the difference is due to to compensate for low, very high, for low irradiance when doing the when doing the tests.
Okay, so probably is to adapt to all kind of weathers, and they give an overplus to work well in the different situations. Okay, thank you very much. There's another questions and here about the capacitation of technicians, and I don't know if it is interesting to talk about. We in the countries that is implement this project, there is a plan to connect to the technicians and to professionals, to the blue collars that normally install that maintain this kind of equipment. I don't know if could you help me? What is the people that could talk about that?
I'll speak, and then probably our colleagues, Engineer Camero and probably Dominic, can also contribute.
Okay.
But at least what we wanted to assess, at least in the Kenyan market, was to see the existing, if number one, the even existing courses for technicians to handle repair of appliances, look at that ecosystem, and also look at the ecosystem of training when it comes to solar PV, and see whether we can incorporate or maybe advise on what could be changed in the curriculum, and if not to existing technicians, then at least be able to optimize a prototype, number one, that can easily be repairable even in the local market, and that is actually one of the things that we considered in the prototype development. It was done locally. At least it was done in Kenya, and there was a part just like the PTCs that we had to import from China. But apart from that, the assembly and the fabrication was all done locally. So when you're looking at the heaviest component of the cooker, which is the heating mechanism, in terms of repairability, the intention is to make it simple and teachable, and also be able to do transfer of knowledge to the existing technicians. But when it comes to the whole ecosystem, including capacity building, that is one of the tasks that was being led by R&D's partner, was to assess what the ecosystem looks like in all the three countries and see what we could recommend as project partners to be able to support the cooker. If I answered the question correctly, Eric.
Yes, the second part of the question is exactly like that. Thank you very much. Okay, you go further. There is a question about the composition of the food and the impact. I don't know if it is possible to respond, but there are another possibility to put. I put another question, perhaps for Riken. Riken, you are there? Are you there, Riken? No, he's not here.
If not, I could take the question.
Okay, but I put it for Celestino, because he has with the virus can explain more or less. For your experience, Celestino, how the solar cooking be developed in other geographies? Are there similar problems as the one here today? What your experience? Tell us, please.
I don't have experience in collaborating in projects for installing cookers in other countries. But what I am feeling is that if I want to, for example, to promote the funnel cooker that I have invented, that Paca cooker in concrete with glass mirrors, what I think it is not good only to go there one country in Africa or in India or in another place in the world, to go there one week and then come back. I need to be part of them. I need to dance, to talk, to play cards with the people. Because if I go there only 1 week and then I come back, the project will fail. So what is important, because people are used to cook the meals using the wood or using the other, or even the gas, but their habits. But when you move to solar cooking, we need also to be tolerant. We need also to accept, to try different, to change for other kind of meals. Okay, I have done it, so I am doing it every day. Okay, but for example, for cooking just potatoes, it's very easy to cook potatoes, and people, even here, my wife is used to boil potatoes with water. Okay, what happened to the nutrients of the potato? Goes to the water. Okay, if you don't add salt, the potato is not tasted. Okay, but what I do, I'm using a slow cooker. I put just the potatoes with the skin, and after 2 hours I come back to my cooker, and or if I'm coming to the university during the morning, when I arrive at 1 p.m., the potatoes are well cooked with the nutrients inside. Okay, but so we need to change our habits.
Okay, Celestino, thank you for your nutritional advice. Okay, I think Mireia could help us with that question. Do you? I repeat the question. Yes.
I could say for Scheffler reflectors, they work very well where we have only direct solar radiation. In case we have a lot of rain or no sun, then we have to use some backup solution, like Heike mentioned. The biomass would be a possibility. We also have this concept using PVs, but there you also need a little bit of sun. So you always need to look at the local conditions and design the system based on the solar radiation available on site, depending on the seasons as well. Yeah.
So you think that the problems that could happen in Africa could happen in every regions? That depends the approach that we can do it, and then explain and study well what is the solutions. Yes.
Exactly, and the thermal energy storage, that's a very important aspect. We need to store the energy. That's why we have developed in this project Sophia, and also in the other LIPRI project that was mentioned by Sangari, by Heike. We have this steam cube, which can store steam if we don't take anything, even 24 days. So it's a patented solution made in the project Sophia.
I have some interesting, because there are another question about the relationship between the solar equipment, the solar cooking, and the canteens and the schools and all the groups that need day by day that have the milling and have difficulty to achieve other possibilities. What's your opinion about that?
Maybe we leave also some other speakers to answer, such that I don't take the floor for.
Okay, but can you have for example, in Sophia, an example of a school that work with the students and the teachers that work well?
We focus in Sophia only on hospitals and pharmacies, but we have the children that are in the hospital and around the hospital. They are all the time children, and we do have great experience using Scheffler reflectors and also the PV-based system with the PV steam cube.
Okay, Thank you very much. I don't know if Inês from Mozambique could have some experience about that because they have the field work. I don't know, Inês, are you there?
Yeah, yes, please. Come again with the question. I missed it.
The question is about in chat. That is the how it work this kind of project with schools and other groups that need day by day meals. They can work also with the same problems, difficulties that you see in the field with families. It is possible.
Yes, if I got properly the question, yes, I think that there is not much differentiation in terms of problem with schools, especially when we talk about school. And as a part of government strategy, in fact, the way that they can keep children in school is to provide some meals. And these meals are cooked in the school and result from the school garden because it's part of curriculum. All schools, especially the primary and secondary school, is compulsory to have some school garden so that they can produce some vegetables so that the children can eat it. But if we try to compare with the energy that they use, they're still using firewood and also charcoal. That's what is happening actually, which means that having a project like that would be really grateful if the schools could afford or could be able to have some solar cookers. It will reduce the amount of charcoal or the amount of firewood that is being used. But this is the reality. Yeah.
I understand. Thank you very much, Inês. I have a last
if I can add to that, may I add to that?
Yes, please,
Yeah.
please. Okay.
In fact, between 2000 and 2010, we did a demonstration of solar cookers. And that time there was a German project. The idea was to produce solar cookers in South Africa for the Southern African region and then sell with a very low amount to the other countries in Southern Africa. So we did fieldwork activities demonstrating the technology, box cookers, I saw in one of the presentations here, concentrating cookers and so on. What happened was that the technology was not well accepted by the communities. And this was clear. The life in rural areas is so that the people very early in the morning go to their fields, agricultural fields. And when they come back, they want something to cook quickly so that they can eat something. And this was not possible with the solar cookers. So it was not accepted. I did participate in that demonstration, and it was not accepted. It's when we at the Edward Modern University started thinking on cookers with storage. So we started doing some research on that, but developments are taking long, cookers with storage. But in my opinion, thermal cookers with storage can have a future. The developments are taking longer. Photovoltaic cookers, because they have a storage battery, they can in fact, definitely solve the problems in rural areas. And when you refer to schools, I would say that in schools, the thermal cookers are good as a didactic materials, not as something to cook for people. Yeah, for that it would not work. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. And of course, there are other questions, but perhaps we finish in the same minutes, and we want to answer later for the authors. So I finish this this part, and I give the word to Sandra. Okay.
Thank you very much, David. I just want to maybe answer Inez's question on the 3 meals. So Inez, as I mentioned, in Kenya, we did the data collection in recently connected households. And what we saw was that there was a time, there's some households where during lunchtime, maybe it's the younger kids who come home from school who don't need to be school the entire day, who need to be fed. Sometimes it's the mothers who stay at home who need to take food to school. So that was the kind of relation that we saw during lunchtime. That's why I said during lunch it wasn't that high, but there were still some households that were cooking. Of course, majority of time was spent during dinner and breakfast as well. Yeah, that's what the data showed.
Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
so
Okay.
yes, I can